Today, I want to talk about space. Not one more life hack that promises you'll finally have enough time, but the kind of space where you can finally hear yourself think. And I'm realizing something. Most of us don't actually know what that feels like. We've been so busy filling the silence that we've forgotten there's something in it to find. So, this episode is for anyone who's ever felt like they're running from something. Or maybe you're running towards something. Or maybe you're just running and you can't remember why you started. Let's talk about that. My name is Jen, and welcome to the WithGen podcast. This is where we're building mental wealth together for a better life, for a better environment, for a better you. Right now, I'm working on a 12-week course and writing a manuscript so we can actually put mental wealth into practice. Because understanding this stuff is one thing, living it is another. So if you're ready to invest 0.3%, yes, 0.3 of your time for a better forever, you're in the right place. Let's go. Before we go deeper, I want you to sit with a few questions. Not to answer me, but to answer to yourself, basically. What did being busy mean in your family? Was it a sign of success or worth or importance? When did you first learn that being useful made you valuable? Was it as a kid, at school, at work? Have you ever felt guilty for doing absolutely nothing, just sitting, existing, not producing? What emotions show up when life finally gets quiet? Relief? Anxiety? Boredom? Fear? Did you ever notice yourself filling your weekends even before they began, making plans so you wouldn't have to face the emptiness? I'm asking this because I think we can learn early that space is dangerous, that silence means something is wrong, that if you're not busy, you're falling behind. Here's what's interesting from a psychological standpoint. Our brains don't like uncertainty. When life gets quiet, your brain suddenly has fewer external problems to solve. Guess what it starts doing? It starts solving internal ones. That's why silence often feels uncomfortable. Not because silence is dangerous, but because it's where your thoughts finally catch up. And your thoughts have been waiting a long time to be heard. So, the last time when things finally kind of got quiet for me was, I think, 2 months ago. So, it's been quite a while ago already. And I was in a meditative state. And it's not that I meditate every day or every week, definitely not. But I told myself, okay, Jen, let's be quiet here for a little because just like you or just like many of your acquaintances and friends, I'm terrified of the silence. And I remember what showed up for me in that very moment, like most of those moments for me, was, well, it got harder. It got really stressful because all of a sudden I could hear myself think. And I just had to sit with myself and I had to tell myself, hey, Jen, you've been doing this for years, but even for you, it's still okay to be terrified of this silence. And another moment where it got totally silent was when my grandpa last month, when he passed away, and I walked into his room together with my uncle, and you could hear absolutely nothing. It was in the middle of the night, and we were called up to go there because he had just passed. And there, what filled the silence was love. So all these silences can mean different things. I mean, in the silence with my grandpa, there was also a lot of grief, but there was also a lot of love. And I realized that, our lives are pretty short, and it's up to us to make the best of it, basically. And if this is hitting home for you right now, if you recognize yourself in this, if you see someone you care about running like this, send this to one person, not 10, just one. Someone who needs to hear that the issue isn't time. Someone who has forgotten how to sit still. Someone who's running and doesn't remember why. Because we don't talk about this enough. And maybe, very maybe, hearing it from someone else will give them permission to finally stop. Let's build this awareness together, all right? This is also the line that changed something for me. I kept thinking, if I just had one more day, one more week, one more holiday, I'd finally feel better. But every time I got the extra time, I filled it. And I didn't even realize why I was doing it and how I was doing it. It was so automatic that I thought I was just being productive or making the most of my time. But what I was actually doing was running, like many of us. I wasn't chasing more hours, I was chasing capacity. I thought if I could just squeeze more things into my life, eventually I'd feel less overwhelmed. But that's not how your nervous system works. So here's what I want to ask you. What have you stopped doing recently? Not by choice, but because you just ran out of energy. Which commitments disappeared? Which friendships changed? Which hobbies did you let go? What happened when you stopped saying yes to everything? Did you actually lose something? Or did you gain space? Did you feel relief? Or did you feel like you failed? The nervous system doesn't measure hours, okay? It measures load. You can have an entire weekend off, you can take a vacation, you can get a full night of sleep, but if your nervous system is still carrying 10 unfinished conversations, all the worries about someone you love, 3 business decisions, a difficult relationship, constant notifications on your phone or otherwise, or the feeling that you're left, that you're behind, then you still have no capacity left, which means you weren't tired because you needed more Saturday. You were tired because you had no capacity left. And all the rest in the world can't fix that. Only space can. For me, the last time that I realized that, time was not the issue, I knew that, adding more hours to my day wouldn't fix it. And I had to sit still with myself a little bit more. I had to be there for myself a little bit more. So the first thing that I stopped doing, or that I actually started doing, was deleting things from my calendar a little bit, and really giving myself the grace, for example, to have my mental health day and to also be with myself during my periods, because with women especially, hormones fluctuate big time. And for me, that felt really liberating because I finally got to sit with myself. So since a couple of months now, I make sure that people cannot book meetings and I cannot book anything in my own calendar either when I'm around my period. So especially day 1, day 2, if you're a woman, female, listening to the podcast right now, you recognize that these days are the hardest. So those 2 days definitely, but preferably the full 4 days, no one can't reach me. Well, you can't book anything at least. And next to that, I've talked to you about my mental health day, right? And the mental health day also gives me room to move. I get to sleep in. Normally I'm awake around, let's say 7:30, 8. And I just wake up and I listen to what I want to do. So if I want to do an extra long yoga session, I do that. If I want to take myself out for lunch, I do that. If I just want to play some guitar, I do that. If I want to do nothing, I do that. And the first time I did it, it was terrifying because I felt like many of us, I had to fill up that space. And that's a totally normal feeling to be having, especially when it's like your first 3 or 4 times. You have to process the fact that you're allowed to not do anything. And next to that, I say no easier right now. So whenever I'm not feeling a hell yeah about a project or about something I'm doing, I will say no. Or I will tell the people, hey, can I sit with this for like 24 hours and just, you know, really think about whether I would like this or not. And I just say no if 55% of me is saying no. Here's the thing, we're not just afraid of space, we're addicted to filling it. And we do it in ways that we don't even notice. Like, do you always have a podcast on? Scroll while brushing your teeth? Answer messages immediately? Eat while watching something? Feel weird when you're walking without your headphones on? Turn hobbies, like all of them or at least half of them, into side hustles? Immediately replace one goal with one another the moment you finish that goal? Maybe we don't hate silence. Maybe we've forgotten what it feels like. We've filled every gap with something that demands our attention. And our attention has become so fragmented that we don't even recognize ourselves anymore. There's something called the default network mode. It's a network in your brain that becomes active when you're not focused on an external task. For years, researchers thought this was your brain doing nothing. It isn't. This is where your brain actually processes emotions and makes connections and reflects and consolidates your memories and gets creative and it solves problems. In other words, your best ideas don't come when you're grinding. They come when you finally stop filling every second. They come in the shower, during a walk, in the middle of a night, in that moment between waking and sleeping. For me, it's the toilet a lot. That's when your default mode network finally gets to work, and we need to give that more time. So, last time when I had an idea that surprised me was when I was just sitting at the table. I remember I was just sitting here and my laptop was closed. I had a pen in my hand and I was just drumming it a little bit, like tick, tick, tick. And I think I was there for about 15 minutes or so. And all of a sudden, I got a great idea for the pod and for the program and everything. And it's not that I was doing anything special. It's the fact that I wasn't doing anything, that I created space. And I wasn't trying anything. And that was kind of the first time in a long while that I wasn't trying anything. I know this is a bit vague, but I hope you get where I'm going, because for me, it's really at the table or when I'm on the toilet. And I tend not to bring my phone when I go to the toilet, because that's finally like the 30 seconds a day that I can hear myself think. So, yeah, I'm wondering about you. When was your last time? What did you feel and how did you do that? I would love for you to share it with me, actually. And I want to ask you something, and I really want you to sit with it. Imagine someone handed you an entire free Saturday. No chores, no obligations, no work, no expectations, no guilt. No one is watching, just time. What's the very first thing your brain would tell you to do? That answer says a lot. Does it say that you need to accomplish something? Does it say you need to fix something about yourself? Does it say you need to catch up? Or does it say something else? Because here's what I think. If your first instinct is to fill it, that's not because you love being productive, okay? That's because you've forgotten how to just be. And that's not your fault. You were taught that being valuable meant being useful, that being worthy meant being busy, that empty time was wasted time. But what if it's not? What if empty time is exactly where you find yourself? I used to think creating space meant having less to do. I thought it was about time management, about saying no, about productivity hacks. But that's not it. Creating space means having more room to yourself and to be yourself. It means having enough quiet to hear your own thoughts. It means trusting that you're allowed to exist without producing something. It means believing that you're valuable even when you're not useful. And here's the thing that took me the longest to understand: people don't need more advice, they need enough safety to hear themselves think. Because somewhere deep inside, you already know what you need. You know what drains you, you know what lights you up, you know what you should probably say no to, you know who you want to be. But you can't hear any of it because there's no space. Your mind is full, your calendar is full, your nervous system is full. And in all that fullness, you as a person, you have disappeared. So maybe the goal isn't to create a life that's perfectly optimized. Maybe the goal is to create a life where you actually have enough space to hear yourself. And maybe that's where you find yourself again. Not in the hustle, not in the achievement, not in the next milestone, but in the quiet, in the space between all the tasks, in the moments when you're finally allowed to just be. And maybe that's the whole point. So here's what I want from you, because I don't just want you to sit here and listen. I actually want you to put into practice what we've been talking about together today, okay? 1, create space this week. Not a vacation, not next month, this week. 1 thing you remove, 1 meeting you skip, 1 commitment you pause, 1 hour you protect. Start small and be with yourself. 2, you are going to share this. If you know someone who's running and who can't remember why, send them this episode. Not with a message, not with an explanation, just this is for you. Because sometimes we need permission from someone else to finally stop. And we're going to build that awareness together. And if you want to go deeper, if you want to understand mental wealth and not just hear about it, the 12-week course is coming. The manuscript is being written. Because hearing this stuff is step 1. Living it is everything. I care about you and who you actually are, okay? I'll talk to you next time.